All right. We'll call the meeting to the order of the Mandan Public School District Number 1. It is Monday, October 16, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. We're in the Bosch Freilich Room. Next item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me for that. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Is there any changes to the agenda?
I have none.
You have none. Does any of the board members have any changes? If none, then we will, can I get a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion, comments? Seeing none, please call roll.
Hoofstall,
Yes.
Horn,
Yes.
Gazed,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Peel,
Yes.
Furse,
Yes.
Haugen,
Yes.
and Wolf.
Yes. Next item is public communications. Is there anybody that would like to address the board? Is there anybody who would like to address the board? Anybody like to address the board? Yes. Okay, please come on up. State your name and what you got on the agenda. Which piece of the agenda, please?
I'd like to introduce myself first. I'm Brandon Byrne. I'm the transportation manager for Harlow School Bus.
Okay.
I apologize. This is my first time to one such meeting. I just wanted to introduce myself is all.
All right. Can you give me your name again? Because I missed it.
Yes, Brandon Byrne.
Burr?
Byrne, Byrne, yes.
All right.
And I just wanted to present myself as a resource if you have any questions going forward.
All right. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for stepping up. You have a tough challenge ahead of you, so it's been tough. So thank you for what you do. We appreciate it. Yes. Thank you. All right, then we'll move on. The next item is the administrator's report. The first item is the early childhood literacy update. This is Bassington. Wait.
You were close.
Oh. Bassingthwaite.
Bassingthwaite. The TH is just for fun. Thank you for the opportunity to let me present today and give you an update on Mandan Public's Early Learning Initiative. I presented you with a handout with a bunch of links and detailed information about some of the work that we do, and I just want to highlight a few of those pieces today. Should I keep going? Yeah. Okay. As you know, this is a grant-funded early learning program that has been in the district since the fall of 2019. It's funded through the North Dakota Department of Public Instruction Comprehensive State Literacy Grant, CLSD, we call it for short. The funding was initially utilized for projects like Raising the Reader, and we were distributing early learning activity bags to preschoolers. But in 2022, Mandan Little Learners was launched, and really to provide a more systematic approach and utilize the grant funding in a more organized way to bridge some other service providers within the community, build some partnerships, and provide some more resources and opportunities to our families and providers that are caring for young learners. So Mandan Little Learners really focuses on providing family and community-based supports and resources to the community of Mandan, specifically targeting families and child care providers with that population of the birth to 5 children, and looking at providing information and learning experiences and opportunities to help them build on that continuum of learning and kindergarten readiness skills, so that when they come into kindergarten, they're more successful, they're more comfortable being in our schools, working within and through the district, and just coming in with some more of those skills and really empowering the families and the providers to be the people helping their children build some of those community readiness skills. So I wanted to just highlight some of the key work that we're doing, but I think it's important to start out with letting you know that we're not the only district in North Dakota with the CLSD grant and utilizing the Birth to 5 funding, But the state of North Dakota and DPI has really taken interest in our community and family approach that we're using. I've been asked to speak at several of the CLSD meetings on different task forces, and had several conversations with both DPI and the Department of Health and Human Services about the work that we're doing in thinking maybe we could help them provide a framework for other communities trying to do a more systematic community-based early learning approach and community readiness approach. So I think that's really exciting. The work that Mandan is doing is being noticed across the state. So just to highlight a couple things, Mandan Little Learners facilitates the Mandan Early Learning Coalition, which was started with the initiation of the grant. We're currently the only community in North Dakota who still has our coalition intact, and we meet monthly to discuss the services happening for that birth to 5 population. So we have 17 partners that come to that meeting monthly. And that's how some of the best work has been created. We have conversations, we brainstorm, we plan, and a lot of the scope of work of Mandan Little Learners is generated from that group. So some of the great things that have happened this year have been, or in the last 2 years, Spark at the Library is it's basically story time at the library, but families come in and hear the story and then have an hour of an opportunity of different developmental learning stations targeting different skill sets, leading to that continuum of skill sets in a variety of different developmental areas, and then providing information of different activities that families can learn at home. So Spark is simple play-based activities and resources for kids. Everything can be duplicated in the home or in the child care program. We have Gearing Up for Kindergarten has been relaunched in the district. We're on year 3 of that. This year we changed it up a little bit, and instead of a 4-week fast session in the spring, we're spreading that out for families to be able to practice skills and think about kindergarten readiness for the whole school year. So we're meeting 7 times, once a month this year with families, and then in between that having touch points every month with the families as well. So we're really excited about that. Family play group is something that we're working with the University of Mary on. It's kind of like Spark, but the pre-professionals at UMary in a variety of different disciplines are planning the activities, coming on a Saturday morning and practicing their own observation and skill sets. We have OT, PT, nursing, education. We had athletic trainers the other week when we were offering it. So it's a great partnership with University of Mary and pre-professionals as well, and we're really excited about that. And the numbers of families coming to that continue to grow also. If families and providers are curious about Mandan Little Learners and the work that we do have a website. People can find it on the MPS website, or it's a Google site. So Mandan Little Learners, if you just Google that, it comes right there. And then we have a strong social media presence as well on Facebook and Instagram. So if people are curious about that. I also think that it's important to note how receptive the Mandan community has been to this launch of Mandan Little Learners. Our participation numbers continue to grow. Families are very excited about what we're doing. I field a lot of phone calls, lots of suggestions of what else we can do in the community or what else families are looking for, and providers as well. I think it's a great time to continue this kind of work with just the growth that's happening in Mandan, but also the energy that's happening in Mandan. So we hopefully will be able to just continue to see the impacts of the program in some of those kindergarten entry scores in the fall, and hopefully we'll be able to see the work that families are doing and continue to be able to empower them to continue to do that work. But it's also important for us to think about this grant funding runs out in June of 2025. So we continue to seek ways and opportunities to sustain the work that we're doing. And there's some things coming down the pipe with the Department of Health and Human Services in the early learning section, and maybe their interest in what we're doing will help us have more conversations about that. But thank you for listening today. And if you have any questions or clarifications, I'd be happy to answer those for you.
Questions? Go ahead. Good.
Thank you for this information. It's such an important time frame for kids, and just that preparation, it makes all the difference, and to have that quality matters so much. So thank you for all of these innovative ideas. I wanted to know what the grant amount was and what it would take to fund this moving forward, just kind of what the numbers that you've been playing with and what you're talking about with the state. I'm curious.
So that's probably a question for Dr. Bitts or for Dr. Just as well.
I believe the grant was for like $4 million over so many years. Mrs. Bassine-Waite, and if you remember, we had Vonda Dahl come in and Mr. Just, and they talked about the different buckets that we had. We had to spend so much money, K-5, birth to 5, K through 5, middle school and high school, and we have to put money in each of those buckets. And right now, I would say, I'm going to make a wild guess that you guys are a little over, maybe little over 100,000 to 150,000 a year that we're spending in our K-5 bucket. We're just really excited about birth to 5. Sorry, I can't say K-5 always just comes out. I'm sorry.
Rolls.
Birth to 5. Yes, thank you. And I can get that exact number for you. I just don't have it right now.
Dr. Bitts, what was the source of that funding?
It's the
Was that COVID?
No, it's a federal grant that runs through the state. You had to apply for those funds, and it's comprehensive literacy, CLSD, comprehensive literacy
State development.
Okay. So this, I mean, it expires in June of 2025, but
Correct.
there is always that opportunity.
There may be. I'm hoping there's another round. This is the second time. There was a first round. What was that one called?
The first round was called Striving Readers,
Yes.
and then CLSD. And last year we applied for supplemental CLSD funds that came through, and we were awarded $38,000 roughly. We're using that this year to do the Gearing Up for Kindergarten expansion and provide a couple more family playgroup opportunities.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to comment, congratulations on the growth in the programs too, looking at the Spark at the library and that you have the same numbers in the fall that you had in the summer. That's really, really phenomenal, and congratulations on the programming.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I have one. You said 17 groups are part of this? Could you give us a flavor of that?
Yeah, so NDSU Extension Parent Resources, Custer Health, Western Plains Public Health, Morton Sioux Special Education Unit, Kids in Motion Programming. We have a child care provider who's actually the president of the Association of Child Care Providers in town. We have a preschool teacher, a parent, 2 groups from University of Mary. Who else sits at my table?
Didn't mean
Head
to put you
Start.
on the spot.
Yeah.
I was just curious who it was, but it's a very big, diverse group of people. It really
Yes.
is, so.
We've been trying to get any agency or any agency, program, or organization that touches the lives of children and family in Mandan. So early intervention, right track.
Yep.
The
all
whole.
those that are on
Yep.
there. Healthy Start probably too.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Any other questions?
I would just make a comment here if I can. This has been a great grant for Mandan School District. In addition to what we're doing, birth to 5, we've hired our liaisons, our Hispanic liaison comes through this program. And, a lot of our coaches are hired through this program. So it's been a great grant for us. We've been able to do some really nice things.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, as a parent of a 3-year-old, she now has a library card, is already set up shop at Roosevelt Elementary because that's where she's going to kindergarten. So it is a really impactful, I think, meaningful program that I'm really proud that we have as a part of our district.
Yep, go ahead.
So knowing that we've made hires based on a grant, do we have funding to continue those hires? I just want to clarify that.
We always talk about the funding cliff. We talked
Yeah.
about our COVID dollars and how they go away, and we're always planning for our transition off of a grant or federal dollars. People always say you shouldn't apply for a grant because what are you going to do when it goes away? And I always say if somebody wants to give me a Lexus to drive for 2 years, I'm going to take it and I'm going to use it for 2 years because it's good and we can do some good things. And then if it's that good, I have to figure out how I'm going to keep paying for it, or we have to figure something out. But the grant's been great. We hope there's another round or there's something's going to come. I haven't heard that that's happening yet, but we're hopeful.
Well, I appreciate that because I know there's so much research around early childhood interventions and how they matter in grade school and beyond. And so it's just, this is invaluable.
If I can, I'm going to steal some of Dr. Rederath's thunder here with her next piece. She's going to talk a little bit about school accountability. And I just want to say that what she's going to share, it is so much easier to teach kids when they come in speaking another language and they have to assimilate to English. We do a much better job when they're in elementary school than we do when they're in middle school and high school. And I think part of that is they're more able to learn at that age. They're more ready and willing to learn when they're at that age. So I think early intervention is huge. And the sooner we can be a part of these kids' life, a partner with parents, the better it's going to be.
Yeah.
And I agree, and I these type of things save money in the future for a lot of things. I mean, if they can learn here and what they use for the rest of their life is a big change. So small dollar here, big dollars later if you don't do it.
Yeah.
All right, any more questions? Thank you very much. We
Thank
greatly
you.
appreciate it. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks.
I'm sorry I got your name wrong when I said it. All right, we'll move on to school accountability. Dr. Ritterath?
Yes, you have the presentation in your packet, but I'm going to just touch on it a little bit. If you remember, one of the requirements of ESSA is a school accountability reporting, and North Dakota Department of Public Instruction had an ESSA committee that came up with how they wanted to do accountability, and that's where the Insight dashboard comes into play. And so that's where all of our accountability data is reported. In about mid-August, they reported out for us. So there's links in your packet about how you get to insights and how you can access some of our accountability if you want to look closer. But I'm going to just touch on a few different pieces to it that I thought would be helpful. So I put a couple of pie charts in there on how accountability is factored, both at the elementary and the high school level. So if you look at K-8, a lot of it's state assessment, or NDSA. Some of it's state growth, so how much are they growing year to year? How much would we expect to see them growing, and are we seeing that? Climate and engagement, we have that student engagement survey that we typically do in about January of every year. That's how they measure that piece of it. And then we also have our English language learners proficiency. And that's based on the WIDA, which is specific to our EL students. So that's not their NDSA scores. Sometimes that gets confusing for our EL learners. It's the WIDA, which really measures their use of reading and writing and their proficiency in the language. High school is a little different. You have some of those pieces. You have state assessment, but if you remember, that's ACT for us right now. So you're just looking at juniors. You have EL, that climate engagement, but then you also have graduation rate, GED completion, and choice ready. And if you remember, and I'll touch a little bit on that, choice ready, the state looks at, are they ready for employment, military, or post-secondary education. So there's a little bit of an accountability difference there for the high school as we look at those things. And with Choice Ready, I put some breakdowns with the different components that go into that. And that's something that the high school, if you remember, the high school was targeted last year for some improvement pieces. And that's one of the areas they really focused on is how can we get kids more choice ready? Because they need to be ready in two areas. So either employment and military or military and post-secondary. And so the high school did some really nice work with some job fair pieces, with some volunteer opportunities for students, and really being able to, that's something we can affect fairly quickly, the choice ready piece, and they did a nice job of implementing those changes. And we'll look a little bit at their scores as we go here. All of this goes into our school strategy maps. If you're familiar with Cognia, we talk about Cognia in our accreditation process. So all of this data helps our individual schools make plans for their school around our school accountability process to get better. And that's really what the whole point of this data is how can we use it to get better and put it into our plans. And then the state supports us in that through Cognia, through if you are in the bottom 10%, you're a targeted school throughout the state, they have to identify the bottom 10%. So that's actually always moving up because schools are getting bigger, are better. And that bottom 10% gets identified for that targeted support. Last year, we talked a little bit about our high school was identified. This year, our middle school was identified. Our high school worked their way off, but our middle school was identified. And so as we go through the data, I'll talk a little bit about what that looks like and what our next steps are there. Any questions to this point? And then I will touch a little bit on our individual school data.
Dr. Ritter, I think
Yeah.
you'd just like us to interrupt you if we have
Yeah,
questions.
yeah,
So
that
just
would
go
be
ahead.
great.
Questions, just feel free.
That would be perfect. And just so you're aware, we are required by law to notify parents of our accountability data. So on September 21st, we sent out a remind message with their individual letter for their school, because every school has a different score attached to it. And then it's also posted on all the individual school websites. So parents always have an ability to access it there. So looking at some of our accountability pieces, I'm not going to talk through every single piece. I put the pie chart in there on all of our different schools. And if you look at it, I think as our former alternative education director, I was a little bit proud. Our Brave Center Academy, our alternative high school, scored nicely at almost 380. We're really doing a nice job of holding on to kids and getting them graduated, whether it's through a GED or maybe take some 5 years, but their completer rate is really trending in a nice direction, which I think is really a good testament to our district. Like I said before, our high school made some really nice gains. Choice Ready, they made some nice gains, but our math ACT score just jumped almost 2 points from right around a 17 to a 19, which is huge growth for us and something that I think the math department and Mandan High in general should be really proud of. They did a very nice job of just owning their data and really working hard to make some good changes. So I really commend them for the work that they're doing and continuing to do. Another interesting thing is our virtual academy scored really high on accountability. Our high school virtual academy was at 433. The only school higher than them was Red Trail Elementary. So really engaged, well-performing students there. You can see Custer did a nice job at Fort Lincoln. All of them are broken down here. Our students really do a nice job. Our student engagement at the elementary level is high, which I love to see. Because if kids aren't like in school at the elementary level, it's hard to change that. So you see really good engagement numbers out of our students at the elementary level. One school that I did really want to kind of highlight was Mary Stark Elementary was almost targeted last year. They were kind of borderline, and they really made some huge strides up to 398. And one of their biggest increases was in their EL. They saw a huge increase in their EL rates, and so I really have to commend our EL staff down there, and the teacher has done a phenomenal job. As you can see, Red Trail was scored extremely well at 450, and then we have Roosevelt in there, and then Mandan Middle School was our TSI at 288. And if you look at their breakdown, a couple of things that you'll notice is student engagement wasn't great at the middle school level, as well as a few of our other academic areas in our EL scores. So as part of being TSI, we get a little bit of money from the state, actually quite a bit amount of money. We get $75,000 from DPI to help us in the process of addressing these concerns. So Amanda Tomlinson, the principal, has done a nice job of created a leadership team. They met last Wednesday night. And we're stipending teachers to be a part of it with Perry to look at their data and kind of start problem solving. What do we want to do? What are our next steps? And they've created 4 subcommittees, EL and math, one on student engagement and how do they improve that, and one on testing environment. They really feel like approaching the state tests a little bit different, and their building will yield some nice improvement for them. And so I feel really comfortable and really excited with the direction, some of the ideas they have, both professional development and working with some systems things in their building that I feel like they're going to make the needed progress they need to make. It is harder at the K level once you get identified because you don't have that choice ready piece. Not that the high school didn't do some great work, but that choice ready you can really affect really quickly and get some of those points where when you're working with student achievement, it just takes more time. So it's going to be a little more time for them to get some of the improvement they need, but I think they have a nice plan. They're going to send teams to the Innovation Academy, which I think will be great to look at some of that engagement piece and how they can do a better job as a building on that. I know I just threw a lot of information out at one time. Are there any questions at all?
Questions?
I want to apologize to our audience. We did have this keyed up, and we're having some technical difficulties, so they didn't get to see Dr. Rederath's slideshow. So that might have been a lot to listen to without the visual that went along with it.
Any questions? Thank you, Dr. Rederath, for following it through, and we'll continue to monitor the middle school and see where it goes. I know the other schools all moved up and out, so we hope to do the same there.
Yep, absolutely. And if you ever have any questions, please reach out.
All right, thank you. And we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, the near-site clinic update. Dr. Bitts.
Yeah, I just want to update the board. We'd been talking about this for a couple of years. It's been in our insurance committee, and just want to let you know that we did receive our request for proposals back. We have a timeline, and we're hoping we can stick to this timeline, but I think we might have to move it back. But our timeline right now is that we want to name finalists by October 20th. We want to do interviews with those finalists by November 4th, and we want to select our provider by November 11th. I'd like to say we're going to stick to that timeline, but I know Brown & Brown, our consultant, has been very busy with open enrollment everywhere, including Mandan. So I would not be surprised. It's our timeline, so we can move it. I wouldn't be surprised if we kick that down the road a couple weeks. I'd rather do it well than do it quickly. So,
All right. Questions on that? Go ahead.
Yes, in the interest of acronyms, RFP is our request for proposal.
Yes.
What is carriers at DTQ?
Did not
qualify.
It's not DTQT?
Yeah, there we go. Decline to quote or
Declined
Kind
to
of quote.
quote.
Oh,
Thank
you
you.
look at
I
it either
figured
way.
yeah.
There had to be the T in there. Thank you.
I read it as a different process.
With the number of finalists, would you want to just maybe, because we had the 3 that we did receive, obviously you're going to be looking through those with a goal to be to narrow that down, or it might be these 3?
It might be all 3. I think
Okay.
if they're all 3 close or competitive, I think the more information and the more people we can talk to, the better it's going to be.
Okay.
I'm assuming we'll use our insurance committee to go through that. We've got representatives from the board, the teachers, the classified staff, the administrators. I think that would be a good avenue.
That would be where I was thinking to go with it too. All right. Any questions on that? You know, I mean, we can line it up. We get a pretty tight schedule here, but that doesn't mean these guys can come to town and present too. So
Yeah.
we can move a little bit in regard to that. That sometimes gets to be the trickier part. All right, then we'll go to the superintendent evaluation.
My evaluation is due again in November. I just want to let you know that I will email that out to you, and I'll have you send that back to Amy Rebenich when it's completed, and I'll give you that email address. Just want you to be aware to look for that when it comes out.
When is that due, Mike?
Mid-November, so we'll be fine.
I'm just looking when our next board meeting is. It's November 20th. Is that going to meet the?
It'll be fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I see in here we got something else the first day, so.
Yeah, if you want to, I think what he's referring to is we were going to walk through the high school site, and it was too wet in early October. We'd like to do that the first meeting in November before it gets too cold and too dark early, so hopefully that'll work.
All right. Next item is North Dakota School Board Association Annual Convention coming up here.
Yes, just want to say that we have Mr. Peters is registered for both days, the 26th and 27th of October. And then I have Ms. Kazed, Ms. Furris, Mr. Horn, and Ms. Peel for the 27th. And if anybody that I didn't mention wants to get signed up, we can still do that as well.
All right. Thanks. Enjoy it. National School Board Convention, April 6th to the 8th.
It's in New Orleans. It's early, but just wanted to throw it out. If you have any interest in going, let me know, and we will see if we can send some people down there.
Questions on that one? Let Dr. Bitts know if you're thinking about going. Have they come out with an agenda on it all yet?
I have not seen it. I will,
It's pretty early. I mean,
Yeah.
it's 6 months away yet, so,
I haven't seen it finalized, but.
okay. Be Legendary School Board Training.
And Miss Furse and I were talking about this. She went to a conference with her day job, and on basically school board governance, and part of that relates to the Be Legendary School Board training. It kind of is trying to get boards to focus on the right work. And she just said it's offered through North Dakota DPI. It does require what do they want, over half the board to participate. It is a 2-day commitment. If there's any interest in that, we can certainly apply for that grant, and they pay for up to half the training.
So if you're interested in it, would you let Dr. Bitts know, and then we can go from there with it, and we come up with a number and kind of see where we're at. Because if we can't come to half, it doesn't work for us.
Right,
So,
exactly.
so let them know in regard to that. And I know the DPI has been wanting us to do this, so. Next item on the agenda is a consent agenda. The first item, review and consider approval of previous board minutes, September 18, 2023. Review and consider approval of budget hearing minutes from September 18, 2023. Accept the Student Achievement Committee meeting minutes from October 9, 2023. Review and consider approval of the bills for July 2023 bills, the August 2023 bills, the September 2023 expense report, and the September 2023 revenue report. What's the wishes of the board?
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda?
We have a motion by Mr. Horn. We have a second? Second. We have a second by Mr. Haugen. Dr. Bitts, please call roll.
Furse,
Yes.
Haugen,
Yes.
Huvestal,
Yes.
Horn,
Yes.
Kazed,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Peel,
Yes.
and Wolf.
Yes. Next item is unfinished business. We have no unfinished business. The following item is new business. We have no new business. Moving on to future meeting dates, October 23rd, Policy and Personnel, 5 p.m. the Brave Center, November 6th, regular school board, 5 p.m. new Mandan High School site. That'll be weather dependent like the last time. Hopefully we don't have it out again. November 6th, Facilities and Finance, 5 p.m. new Mandan High School site. That'll be a combined meeting for both the board and the Facilities and Finance. November 13th, Student Achievement, 5 p.m., Brave Center. November 20th, regular school board meeting at 5:30 p.m. at City Hall. Make sure when you get the superintendent evaluation, you send it in, because it's usually me that's late. So get it in and get that done. Is there any other things that should come before the board? Seeing and hearing none, meeting's adjourned.